SAVCA is the acronym for the Southern Africa Venture Capital and Private Equity Association. It's a member organisation representing the venture capital and private equity industry in South Africa. It's been around since 1998. Currently, the industry in South Africa accounts for about 120 billion rand in assets under management, so a fairly sizable industry, and it represents a range of fund managers. You have the independents who take third-party capital. This is the typical private equity funding model. You also have these so-called captives that may be associated, say, with a bank or an insurance house taking their capital and investing it in private equity and venture capital opportunities. And you have the development finance institutions with very strong objectives around, for instance, a social infrastructure or physical infrastructure. SAVCA has a member base of about 90 members and 40 associate members, so those would be professional bodies who see a great deal of benefit in being part of the private equity ecosystem. The objectives and mission of SAVCA is to help foster a very vibrant, healthy private equity and venture capital industry. And what that would mean is ease of access to capital for the various fund managers. So a vibrant, liquid capital funding model, as well as a healthy and liquid exit environment for those funds. So being invested in a firm, there always is a finite horizon that's per definition of private equity within 5 to 10 years, needing to exit from that investment in order to return capital to the third-party investors. So access to capital, an environment of healthy and easy exits, and also a supportive regulatory environment. SAVCA in the past and continues to play a very important role in speaking to the various regulatory authorities that govern the investment landscape around private equity, and a number of successes. SAVCA, for instance, having been integrally involved in Regulation 28, which governs pension fund investment in alternative investments, which include private equity. And that allocation to private equity as a result of these Regulation 28 changes has now increased, so pension funds now have the scope to put a great deal more into private equity, and hence the other elements of SAVCA, the role of educating pension funds, pension fund trustees and asset consultants around the benefits of private equity. And to talk around that, private equity is known and research has shown it's a long-term investment, returning stable returns and yields for investors across asset classes. It tends to be a top performer over time. And this is also what distinctly differentiates it from many other asset classes, the fact that it's fairly illiquid. So it's some difficulty, I think, among some pension fund houses in understanding the structure of private equity, but very important to understand that it's a fairly illiquid structure. So it's a commitment. If a private equity fund manager gains access to capital from a third party, there's a commitment to return that over, as I said, a 5 to 7 to 10 year period. So it's a commitment to that capital. So if you as a pension fund commit capital to the private equity fund, you are there. It's a partnership. It's like a marriage. So it's all about the dynamics and the chemistry between the fund manager, the private equity fund manager, and the target company or the so-called portfolio company. Number of benefits that have been cited from portfolio companies or these target companies being in this relationship with private equity fund managers, amongst them evidence and proof of just the longer term sustainability of these firms. Private equity bringing in, by their very nature, they have a 5 to 7 to 10 year period in which to improve the returns from that company. And it's about really ensure the sustainability of returns and growth within that firm. So it's about ensuring job creation, and the studies that SAVCA has commissioned in the past, again, proving that this is indeed the case. So job creation, organic growth within that industry, and also ensuring and bringing about improved governance within that firm. Private equity in South Africa also renowned for the fact that it's really strong on ESG factors, so encouraging and implementing that in the broader context in those firms. So again, speaking to the fact that private equity concerned with the longer term sustainability of firms and business in South Africa, and of course the Southern African region.